contribute to a more sustainable world. And the second question is, what is the evidence that you would look at to ensure that they had those particular abilities? So it's not just knowing kind of in your heart and looking at them and assuming, it's also what is the evidence you would look at. And so this is really about student learning assessment, and it's assessment not to evaluate their progress, but assessment to evaluate, if you will, UT Arlington's progress. So as you look at the evidence as these students graduate, how then do you think about modifying, changing, adding, deleting, uh, working with your courses together as a cohort of faculty to increase the abilities that the students have as they graduate? So what we're going to do this morning is we're going to once again divide you up into small groups. And this morning, I would like to make it a little bit more formal, if you will. I'm going to pose those two questions in the chat so that you all have them. But what I would like you to do once you're in the small groups is I'd like somebody to volunteer to be the recorder. And that recorder, either on a separate piece of paper or on a separate, a smaller part of their screen, can just take notes once you get to a point where you have addressed those two questions. And the reason I'd like for you to do this is because when we do the briefing afterward, I would like you to be able to the recorder to share some of those, but I'd also like eventually for you to be able to send them to Magna so that she can share them across the whole group so that you can all see what you're all doing. And that doesn't all have to happen today, but I think that would be very, very useful because it helps. It will help you think about what you want students to know and then to cycle back to, and so what does that mean in terms of your teaching, the subjects you're covering, the students, and what they're doing. So before we start that, are there any questions for me about this particular aspect of the workshop?
Oh, Jeff, this is Peggy. Just to be sure, you're asking us to think about assessment in terms of before they graduate or some kind of theoretical projection into their future? Because you mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. It's a good question, Peggy. Theoretical projection into the future.
So, okay, awesome. Okay, that helps because we're so concrete with assessment thinking. So that helps.
Right. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take assessment away from evaluation and think of it as an aspirational practice that in 5 years, 4 years, when you have first year students coming in next fall, they will have 4 or 5, or some of them will graduate in 6 years. But what is it as you think about your teaching, your curriculum, your minors, the certificates, what is it you hope that they will have attained in that period of time? Any other questions? Okay, so I'm going to try to put that up on the chat. And those two questions up on the chat. I had them on my computer, but then I restarted my computer. Oh, this is just so much fun. Hang on just 1 second. I'll get it up there real fast. And we'll give you about half an hour in these groups to work through this. So if it's 7:41, by 8:15, we'll be back together. That's my time zone, not your time zone. So.
Can you type in the questions, Jeff, and then I can split everyone into breaking?
Yeah, I'm doing that right now. I'm just trying to. I had to, because I closed everything out. I had them all. Now I've got to reopen Word, and I'll do that.
For sure, Susan.
So
I must say this has been a great group to work with. Usually, the blood pressure goes up when something like this happens, but you all have been so nice to work with. Again, thank you enough for your patience today.
oh, it's well. Okay, here we go. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat and I'm going to type it in. So for some reason, it's not letting me. I was trying to copy and paste and oh, there we go. Okay. Okay, there are the prompts.
Okay, and now I will create breakout rooms, 5 breakout rooms, and everybody gets.
Great, thanks, Meghna.
Sure. Yes, and if everybody can keep notes or somewhere that you can share with me later, because it's not just useful for today, but going forward as well.
Right. Yeah, that's if there's a recorder in each group who can sort of take notes and
Yep.
keep those, and then we'll share those, but then also send them to Meghna so that she can share them with the entire group later. That would be great.
Hi.
Hi.
Guess we're coming back.
Oh man. Leah was making such a good point, and now I don't know what the end of it is.
I know. I was saying something in another meeting, and suddenly it was like, "Well, you're off."
Yeah, it was with us, and we lost you suddenly. It's like you didn't finish the
It was
sentence.
like the best cliffhanger ever.
You can cycle back sometime. You can cycle back. It's all right. It's all right. So,
It was a good discussion, yeah.
okay, so we've actually been online now for it feels like several hours. I know it's not that long, but why don't we take a 15-minute break, and then at the end of the break, so at 10, 15, 10:30, I'm sorry, yeah, 10:30, we'll come back and I'll ask each group to report out very briefly, both on what the outcomes are and what the evidence is that they would look at. And somebody can take notes, but I think each group had a recorder, so those can all be forwarded to Meghna, who can, distribute.
I have it on the piece of paper, but we just needed to write it maybe on Word file, right?
Sure. Yeah, it doesn't have to be posted here. It can just be sent to Meghna later. Yeah, as a Word document or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and
email is fine too. Yeah. I'll compile it all together.
And then she can just sort of put it all together and send it back to the television. So let's take a 15-minute break, and I'll see you back here at 10:30.
Excellent. Good. Thank you. See you later.
See you. Report out briefly on both what they think students should be able to do or know, and then the evidence that you will look at to ensure that they really do have those abilities. So can we begin with with group one, and whoever was the recorder may just be able to contribute at this point?
I don't know that we know which group numbers we were.
Oh, okay.
Karen, I think that might have been us.
All right. Well, then I will kick us off. So our group, and I'll share these notes as well, but in terms of the first question about what do you hope students graduating will be able to do to contribute to a sustainable world, we talked about a sense of self-awareness and having that personal meaning and reflectiveness and knowing what skills and strengths they can use to contribute to the solutions. We also mentioned being future-minded change agents. And so within that, we talked about being self-motivated, taking initiative, being creative, and solution-focused problem solvers and entrepreneurial. And then we talked about being open-minded and students being lifelong learners after graduation, and understanding the interconnectedness of our systems, and related to that, being able to work effectively across disciplines and being inclusive in terms of who is contributing to plans and solutions. And then our last topic area was staying the course, so perseverance, resilience, and self-care, so that the students are able to do all of that great work long term. And in terms of the evidence, we talked in the classroom about just the importance of aligning assignments and assessments so that students are able to practice and demonstrate some of those skills, right? So it's not just, a quiz to see what you know about climate change, but really being able to give them those types of experiences to demonstrate the skills that we did before and get feedback and practice that. And then also alumni outreach as well to follow up on the work that they do after graduation. So team, if I missed anything, feel free to jump in.
That's great. I think it summed it up well. We also talked about how we stay in touch with some alumni that want to stay in touch with us. And I think that helps. And I let them know that, like I'll say, either follow me on social media or they just find me. It's kind of organic, but I really like social media for that reason, that we have these long-term connections and we can kind of spy on them.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. The next group.
I think that's us. So I was the recorder and I will report back. So several things that we have talked about. The first part is about maintaining and building connections or building community. Each of us kind of agree that, a lot of times when we think about long-term sustainability goals or, whatever change making with which the student will be equipping themselves or even equipping ourselves is through building relationship, interpersonal relationship with each other in order to put whatever initiative or goals that we want to achieve forward. That's the first part. And then some of our works essentially involve a lot of working within a team and collectively. So on top of, having that sense of community and sense of belonging, it's very also important to, always come back as a team to think about how do we really make sure we have the agency, or we help the student to have that agency or train them to have that agency to make sure they know how to make a change after they graduate or even before they graduate. The other thing that we have in terms of, what kind of things or what tools that we hope they can leave UTA with is the courage to communicate whatever is at stake, right? Whatever is urgently needed in the society. Because a lot of the times I think we, as individuals and students specifically as individuals, they feel like they don't know enough about something. So they're not willing to speak up. They're afraid of making mistakes. They're afraid of, hurting feelings, right? So, but at the same time, nothing can be done if we wait until everybody is 100% knowledgeable about one thing. So one of the things that we really hope the student will know that you'll make mistake and that's okay, right? But how do we make sure that they have the courage to communicate the issues and to actually stand up to what exactly is really important on climate change, on environment, on injustice, all of these things together. And one more thing is that we also think having students to understand the importance of curiosity is really important. And we're thinking about curiosity fostered by empathy, right? Like a lot of times empathies come from, we try to understand people with different background, what they're thinking, what their experiences are. And that's coming from, hey, curiosity, like, are we asking one question or several questions in terms of what we want to know about them, right? So curiosity and empathy. And then how the evidence, this is the area that we kind of think about, and it's kind of hard to think about, but we talked about the evidence can be, you know, after they graduate or after they take a class with you, you know, are they willing to make that extra step to connect with you outside of classroom, right? So whether through social media, whether we make ourselves available to them through our personal email or, you know, any other ways. And the other thing is that, you know, if we can ask the right question, right? So one of the things that we talk about is maybe we'll ask them question, you know, do you really love what you're doing? Because that's usually the indicator if they're enjoying what they learned from the UTA experience and what they really enjoy what they're doing, so that they can keep sustaining their mission or the change making process. And the other thing, I think this is such a great question, like Felicia mentioned that, you know, the other question that we can ask is, what are you doing outside of your day job, right? Because usually that's an indicator of their curiosity and, you know, if they really love what they're doing, and are they being interested in you know, having that compassionate attitude towards the world, right? Are you just watching TV most of the time, or are you reading books and helping your community and then being part of an organization that drives the things forward or the mission forward? So those are the evidence that we talked about. And if I miss anything, team, you can add on.
That was really great. I really love the fact that you talked about empathy. I think that's really important when we have conversation about sustainability, because you know, we have seen the world changing, and empathy is really important part of the conversation, which often that, you know, gets left behind.
And I missed one thing. Sorry. Arpita also mentioned, and I think it's so important, that the definition of sustainability should always be evolving, right? Like yesterday, we looked at several official definition of sustainability, but at the same time, it's nice to have that overarching definition or guidance for students, especially students or people who are just like starting to get to know this idea. But at the same time, the definition of sustainability or a movement for a sustainable future can be very different from, you know, different people, different community, or people coming from different societies and countries. So like we should always be really open-minded in terms of, you know, how sustainability can be implemented into different disciplines and into different, you know, walk of life, because that's what makes the circle or the ideas inclusive.
Yeah,
That's great.
Nicely put.
Great.
Thank you, Leah.
That was awesome.
Next group.
So I really have no idea who is next, but I could go next. So
Perfect.
So in our group, we talked about like what you want students to that graduate from UTA to be able to do. That we want to have students who are advocates when they graduate, and that the multiplier effect is more important than an individual. And that it's not only the knowledge, but also the skills to advocate for a sustainable future. And then that before they become influencers, they need a good and solid foundation in terms of being able to recognize issues and sustainability related questions, and they need that basic knowledge. As far as evidence, we talked about that we can incorporate the SDGs into projects for the Maverick Advantage, because we're able to track students through those that participate in the Maverick Advantage. So then we could track to see those who are achieving sustainability goals, similar to the entrepreneurship with just like the broadest goals. So we could use capstone projects and things like that. But we need it to be like an institutional level goal, so that we create an ecosystem where sustainability is incorporated as a basic value on campus. We also talked about service learning being another place where we could track student participation in sustainability projects, and we could also connect that to the Maverick Advantage. Maybe we could have a list of courses that have incorporated sustainability into the curriculum, maybe even mark those, and like we now have a designation for classes that use OER. We could maybe mark classes that have implemented a sustainability component, and then we would know at least what students had taken those classes. We could do something like offering a green cord at graduation, the label on their transcript or their diploma. We could add an indicator for master's or PhD research that included sustainability content. And then, of course, all of those are things that we could then track the alumni who had those components. As far as qualitative evidence, I would like to see them doing, coming up on YouTube or TED Talks. When I Google sustainability, I want those to be UTA graduates that come up. Maybe they do internships with, the Science Advisory Council, or they're writing books. Lots of things that would be qualitative evidence that we would see that they're making their mark on the world. Then we talked quite a bit about things that we can do, which is not necessarily what the question was, but I want to just, because we did spend some time on it, I want to just give that some space. The fact that we need to encourage more faculty to implement or incorporate sustainability into their course content. We could use that in the unit effectiveness evaluation. We got to get faculty involved and convince it needs to be done, but that's part of building the ecosystem. But we should have sessions for faculty, and we need to get basically a critical mass. It was suggested maybe just 15 to 20% of the faculty, but so that each program had a few faculty who are incorporating sustainability, and then that would spread the word. Also, that incorporating sustainability into faculty research can enhance grant prospects, so we need to raise awareness of that. And like UTA is really kind of ahead of other institutions in incorporating sustainability on the campus, but we need to connect that with the academics. We also talked about adding a module in like student success courses, although those courses are kind of full, but that's something that our group could kind of advocate for and be the change makers. So also, as other people have said, group, if I've missed anything, please feel free to speak up and list that.
Great summary, Kendra. You captured a lot more than I anticipated you would, so thank you.
Okay, so sorry to interject here. I went to chat to see the chat, and now I've lost my vision of the room. How do I go back to that?
We can see you. You are here.
There should be another.
I just can't see any of you.
On your bottom of your screen, if you click the Teams thing, there should be another, I forgot what it's called, not window, but it's hiding on the bottom. For me, if I click on the little purple icon on the very bottom of your screen, you might be able to pull up the audio, the visuals.
You can also click on the Teams icon again.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. On the very bottom.
I was saying, sorry, Karen, I didn't realize that was what you were talking about. But at the very bottom of your doc, like where you normally would open up the app.
I got it. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate your patience. Thank you so much. So we still have one more group to hear from. Is that right? Or
two more?
Two more. Okay. Great.
I know we were in group 5, so
Go for it.
I can go, or all right, 5 before 4.
That's fine.
So you know, there's a lot of what we've already heard are the things that we talked about too, and you know, what we would really like our students to learn beyond just the basic skills and knowledge that comes from within the individual disciplines and majors and so forth is basic critical thinking skills, but also we want them to embrace a sense of civic responsibility so that they take action in their life. When they see something that is a problem, they can address it, and it can be something small, like making sure that their household participates in recycling programs, or it can be something larger, you know, that requires a lot more energy, organizing and lobbying the legislature for change to ban plastic grocery store bags and those sorts of things. You know, not using plastic bags, but taking your own bags to the store is a small thing. Changing the legislation is a big thing. But either way, all those things are really important. We wanted our students to understand that while the university education and a degree positions them for a career, that quality of life after they graduate is what really matters, not just how much money they make, and they need to, you know, begin to understand that through their education at UTA, and faculty and staff, everyone, the university as a whole can model that for them. I didn't become a historian because I'm in it for the money. There are, you know, everyone needs a dependable income and job security. But that's the first step that leads you into the quality of life. And it's only when you have an appreciation for quality of life that issues like sustainability become really important. And you're free from having to make that decision. Am I interested in sustainability, or is this going to affect my career in a way that you know, or is it going to affect the way you know, my ability to drive a big gas guzzling SUV or something like that? So how do we bring all of this together? You know, one of the things that we talked about was, again, this overlaps with what we've heard, but maybe on campus we could have an annual green theme, something that we can, from all of our different disciplines, have our students, you know, we can point our teaching towards a green theme. It might be food one year, it might be energy another year, and then maybe an event at the end of the year. You know, anytime around Earth Day makes sense because the perfect timing in the spring semester. But by having students participate in a campus theme and campus events, they will come in contact with students from other disciplines who have are acquiring other skill sets, other knowledge bases. And then how do we assess? In the short term, it would be reflection, obviously. So we're sort of bringing, you know, the service learning, a lot of what happens out of service learning, closer to home on campus through certain activities. And ultimately, the goal is to make sustainability central. If right now, you know, students focus on their major, And if they have time, they can take classes in sustainability. How do we switch that around so that whatever their major is, the issue of sustainability and the health of our planet is on your schedule, or you've met all your major core courses and that sort of thing. So I don't know. We had a long list, but I'll stop there. Unless there's if there's something vital that I missed, somebody else from the group should jump in.
That was a great feedback, Chris. I really also like the one book idea.
I think we are the last team didn't speak yet. Okay, I sent you the file that we, so Andrew, do you wanna, and Benito, we are actually in team 4. Andrew Milson, Benito Chen, and me were in that group. So to answer the first question, and I'm gonna read from the file I sent you. So what UTA students can do to contribute to more sustainable world? Well, first we agreed that because Benito is the math department, I'm in the physics department, and Andrew in the history and geography, you know, he teaches both history department. So first we think that teach the student or the students learn basic math so they can think critically. Pretty much what I'm going to say, piggyback on what other teams already mentioned. So they look at the facts before making any decision. So this is a skill they have to learn. Then from the physics point of view is they must learn the natural laws that are governing the world, which means all beings or objects, they have to obey these laws, no exceptions. So this is so fundamental. We all obey these laws. So so they can understand or the role or the influence of humans on their. So I'm sorry. Number 3 is understand that for every cause there is an effect. That so they can understand that the role of the humans' influence on the on nature, right, on the environment. Number 4, learn about optimization, such as optimizing resources. So a human can live in prosperity, but at the same time keeping the environment healthy as much as possible. This is in the math part. Now, Andrew emphasized on the relationship between humans because, you know, in general, and of course, UTA students are part of this community or the society. So UTA students learn to develop ways to work with others in the real world, but after understanding the value of diversity. This is important, how we'll make that diversity will make our world rich. So when it comes to sustainability, they can reach to a common solution with others, and not just common, but advanced solutions, because they learned that here at UTA. Number 6, since individuals like to harmonize with others, UTA, because this is what human nature, UTA students understanding that they can dominate with their influence when they deal with others, because they learn the advanced and cutting edge in the knowledge curriculum, which means we have to advance our curriculum and our research work on all levels. If we do that, we close the gap between where we are and what we can do to be on the leading edge. For your second question, Jeff, how we could know that, how they contribute, maybe by the employment records, because when they leave, we cannot keep track with them that much as if they are under, you know, our monitoring, you know, if they are in still at UTA. So the best way we can track the employment records to collect where our students went to, and to see if they are actually were able to be employed in the sustainable industry. So that will be good, good feedback. On your last question, what is the evidence you will examine or review to ensure that they have the necessary skills, knowledge. We just have to trust what we did here at UTA by creating advanced curriculum, leading edge curriculum, and of course, encourage leading edge research. That's what we can do. Just trust in what we do. And that's it so far.
Great. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Any other, I think that's all the groups. Is that right? Am I right? Well, I want to share with you that the discussions you've just had this morning are really, I found them quite sophisticated, and I think you're all on the right track. I think these are hard questions because, you know, when we say goodbye to a student when she graduates from one of our institutions, it is hard to know what will happen in the next 5 or 10 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years after her graduation. But I do think some other universities have actually explored some interesting ways of thinking about, well, what about that moment when they walk across the stage at graduation, at commencement? And I'll share one of those with you briefly. It's an institution that was very involved, still are, they're still very engaged in sustainability. And they came up with an idea, and it is a smaller institution than yours, but it's not a tiny school either. They said, what if in the senior year, we took 10 students in 10 different majors at random, and we said, we're going to put you in a course which will be graded pass-fail, and it will meet your graduation requirement. So we're going to release you from another course. And what if we also made sure that of those 10 students, at least 2 of them were studying abroad and were in other countries? And what if we said to those 10 students, there is a significant environmental sustainability challenge facing a particular region of California. It is a California school, not one that I was ever at. I mean, I did workshops there, but I didn't teach there, wasn't an administrator there. And what if we said to these 10 students, your task in this one semester is to work as a team, given your disciplinary expertise, to come up with a written and oral report that you could make to a local city council about the changes that need to happen to affect to have a positive impact on this one particular environmental challenge. And it could be a water related, it could be earth related, it could be homelessness, it could be any number of challenges. And they said, what if we then, at the end of the semester, found the students couldn't communicate very well? Then that's the real problem. We have to change our curriculum to make sure there's a more of a focus on that. What if they don't know how to find really legitimate data that backs up the argument they're making? And this goes back to the comments that one of the groups was talking about, the notion of belief as opposed to being able to use data. But what they were thinking is, if we did this every year, what we would then get is information about perhaps where we needed to focus in the curriculum. Because there is, you know, somebody from engineering, there's somebody from mathematics, there's somebody from history, there's somebody from French, there's somebody from social work. And if they can't work together, then we need in our classrooms to begin to do something differently. So it's just an interesting idea. I don't think they were ever able to put it into practice, but I thought it was such an intriguing idea, the notion of taking a subset of students, giving them a task, and then based on that saying, oh, I need to strengthen this in my course, I need to strengthen that in this course over here and that course over here. So I'm now getting potential spam calls, so that's good. So I'll turn this off. So, so any thoughts or reflections on that, or anything else? I mean, there's a lot I could say about what you shared, and I think the focus on critical thinking, you know, the ability to talk across disciplines. I think it's all really important features of what you're talking about. So, any other thoughts about student learning outcomes or assessment? Nope. Okay. I suggest we take another 10 minutes.
Hey,
Oh,
Jim,
go ahead.
I
Go
was
ahead.
thinking about what you said, and I was thinking if only at the university, this one and most, there were more opportunities for us to teach a class where, for example, we brought together students from different disciplines and took a problem-solving approach. But the disciplinary, embedding of the university is so powerful. It doesn't allow for much team teaching because, of course, that economically is not as efficient. And those put roadblocks into doing the sort of work while the students are with us that I think you describe that would be very exciting.
That's a really good point, Jacqueline. When we did the project at Northern Arizona University, and we ran it for 5 years, a total of 100 faculty, who all began to change their courses over that 5-year period. They changed somewhere between 120, 130 courses. So it was a major impact at the university. But one of the frustrations the faculty shared with me was that they made connections in these workshops and they wanted to go back and team teach. And they went back to their chairs who said, well, that won't work because, we're funded for this many FTEs and we're funded for this many FTEs. And so I'm just saying, yeah, I understand the economics and the structure of that. But what many of them did that was, I thought, pretty exciting was they invited each other to do guest lectures. So rather than team teaching, for example, nursing then began to work with some of the health sciences and say, some of the other health sciences and say, would you come and do a lecture on this? Nursing also asked somebody from the English department to come in and talk about Terry Tempest Williams' work on breast cancer and what happened in Southern Nevada after the nuclear testing. So it was the guest lecturing that became part of this. And that also helped, build community among the faculty as well.
Thanks. Yeah.
But I do understand there are all kinds of administrative challenges. Yes. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts for me at this point? Looks like everybody's going to do guest lectures. So I just saw that. So that's good. Okay. I think another very short break here is warranted. So why don't we do a break until about 11:15, and then I think we can come back 11:15 your time, and then we can come back and wrap up, talk about some challenges, and wrap up and complete the workshop. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay. See you back here in a few minutes.
I think everyone is here, Jeff. We can get started.
Okay, good. Well, thank you again for the conversations this morning and the thoughts. Once again, I'm very, very impressed. As we approach the end of this, we may wrap up a little earlier than noon your time. But I wanted to begin by asking if any of you have any questions or thoughts that you want to share with me at this point before we move to the wrap up and talk about next steps and next details. If there's anything I can elaborate on or share with you, I would be glad to do that. And if there's not now, as I also said, if you have my email, so feel free to reach out to me. And if you have any questions about anything, I'd be glad to help if I can be helpful. So that would be, look forward to doing that as well. Okay, well, as you know, I think you know that Magna has done a phenomenal job of pulling this all together and collecting information and getting it out to you, and she'll continue to do that as well. She has a template that she will ask each of you to fill out before August, or about August 1st, I think. And the template is really a sort of report from you about how you're modifying your course or courses. So she'll be sending that out to you. And she'll also be sending out to you, as she has already, the link to the course, to the evaluation for the workshop. And that's very useful for her. It's very useful for me as well, to get a sense of how effective, what a good use of this time this was for you. I will share, as I've said a couple times in the last couple of days, it's been a little challenging with the technology. I'm not as used to it. I'm very 19th century, as it turns out. But I really appreciate your patience and your willingness to work with me on this. And I've really enjoyed working with you. Meghna, are there things that you want to add at this point?
Yeah, since we have time, I just, and since we have everybody in the room together, I just wanted to get a feel for, you fill out the evaluation forms, but, please do let me know what was it that you really loved about the workshop. How can we improve? Because this is our first pilot cohort and we plan to do it every year. And I sent out a lot of information and resources in an email. I will also post it on the website, including some PDF documents. But if you're interested in integrating sustainability in your curriculum, please use that template, fill it out, send it to me by, say, 4th of August. And, maybe we can have some conversation or feedback. And if it's all well, we will provide a $500 stipend for you. And then the plan is, in March, after you teach the course in August, in the fall of 2021, in March of 2022, we sort of get together. I'll arrange like a lunch and learn session where, all of us can come together, share your experiences, the challenges that you had in teaching a course that had sustainability embedded, and what worked for you, what didn't work for you. It's just a sort of, bringing people together. Hopefully the people who would be interested in the next cohort can come attend, talk to you, and we'll go from there. But I know this has been a great experience for me, just trying to put together the information, and the amount of response that I got from everyone was amazing. And I really want to thank Pranesh and the provost office for, supporting this so enthusiastically, and, for his time even to attend the workshop today. But anything anybody would like to add, now is the time. I open space. I'm going to close my door.
Hey, Jeff, I have a quick question in terms of addressing sustainability and the issue of environmental justice or climate change in higher education setting. So what is your experience in terms of like balancing which words that we use, right? Because a lot of times I think, in my opinion, the word sustainability, it has a long-term planning sense, but it also, in my opinion, is a sanitized word. If we're talking about the urgency that we're facing. So like, what's your experience, or what kind of suggestion you have in terms of which word that we should use, or how do we evaluate which word that we should use?
Well, that's a really great question. And I'm going to go back in history and talk about a meeting that took place in Atlanta in 1998. And there were a number of people there. David Orr was one. Tony Cortese was another. Peggy Barlett was there. I was there. There was some architects there. And we were really wrestling with this notion of this word sustainability. And we kept trying to find something that we thought would be more effective. And at the end of the day, we said, this is what we've got. This is what we're going to have to go with. I will say, and I don't know if this quite answers your question or not, but, you know, well, I'll give it a little context. I was talking just briefly with Magna about STARS, which is the sustainability tracking and rating system that ASHA uses. And as they evaluate courses, they talk about courses that are sustainability focused and that are sustainability related. And I think there are a number of courses that are sustainability related where the word sustainability never gets mentioned. But they are nevertheless connected to giving students the skills, the abilities, and the proclivities to engage in a more sustainable future. So it might be a course on social justice or on poverty in South America or on the Mexico-US border or something like that. It's not a course about sustainability, but it is a course that is sustainability related. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I know it's a question I've heard from a number of institutions about how to use that word or not use that word. It has some connotations, as we talked about yesterday. And as I mentioned, somebody once said to me, "Oh, that's the green stuff." Well, no, it's not just the green stuff. It's more complicated than that. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you.
I have a question regarding the next steps. I don't know, are we going to be talking about this or did we already talk about so like in our group, like smaller ones, we were talking about the potential of maybe starting like as an outcome of this meeting, maybe we could have a core team that, because I would want to assume that everyone who's here today is already interested, so we don't have to work on influencing whoever is here because we're already here, we're interested. So maybe like starting a core team that would actually be the advocate for the sustainability for the university, and then throughout that we could start bringing in different initiatives where we could start by involving faculty members and students as well. And just like the event, the annual event you mentioned could be part of this. I also suggested that we could have maybe like every couple of months, maybe we could have one-day event of recycling, for example, or any idea that we think it would bring awareness. So those are like two things that I want to make sure that I say today and see like if we can carry on this, because like for me after this meeting we're done closing this line and meeting, and then what's next for me? So I want to know like like with all the ideas I have other than curriculum itself, like in terms of bringing in students on board, because like from my previous experience I realized that what sticks actually into students' mind is the project, that the experience, the practical experience that they get more than just the curriculum. So curriculum is one part, but the other one, how could we have maybe a line of activities happening throughout the year? That committee could actually start advocating for that. Maybe we can have competitions, maybe we could have I don't know, like public speaking events regarding sustainability with small prizes, whatever. So what are your thoughts on that?
No, I think that's a great idea, Abir. I mean, you know, if the people who are here together would like to form a core committee where we can take some of these initiatives, you know, beyond just curriculum and teaching and like we've talked about, the One Book Club was a great example. A couple of years ago, the ACS Symposium, we used to give out like a $500 prize to a student with a poster for, focus on sustainability. So perhaps we can bring that back and engage with students a lot. We have a Maps Go Green organization on campus, which have 500 students, and they are very active and interested. They just don't know how to make the connection with the faculty or with the Office of Sustainability, right? So perhaps, like you said, bring those students into the mix. And I also put in the chat window, we are starting a sustainability committee on campus to have this, because this is a forum for engagement with faculty. We want to have a forum for engagement on more operational side, like recycling, right? Earth Day events. So we are starting a sustainability committee on campus. I put the chat link in there. An announcement will go out soon. But if time allows, I would love for you to join the committee. We'll probably meet once every 2 months. But I think a core committee of this faculty group might be great idea to take some of these initiatives forward, because at some point we also have to think about how do we move beyond the major and the minor that we have to perhaps a certificate program in sustainability. I know a lot of people are interested in UTA offering a sustainability certificate program, and perhaps we can build upon the momentum of this group for that.
That's great. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'd love to join that as well.
One comment, this is Arpita. Meghna, as you address about the Innovation Day, I guess it would be helpful if we have a common platform for this sustainable projects. It can be from different discipline, but it kind of has a spot, the sustainability part of it. I don't know if it was there before, but that's something from the different disciplines. They kind of showcase how they have worked through the sustainability.
Yeah, no, that's a great idea. I'm taking notes. Anyone else? These are all great ideas.
At the risk of sounding perhaps a little self-promoting, I want to mention that Peggy Barlett and I have published 2 books with MIT Press that are collections of essays from a range of institutions. Each book is about 40 different institutions who talk about how they affected sustainability change on their own campus. So if anybody is interested, I can, the most recent one, I'll put into the chat so you can see that one. And some of you may already be familiar, but some of those stories are actually, I think, they really talk about how the institution was able to make change over time, and the different strategies that they engaged in. And as I say, it's a wide range. It's everything from small community colleges to major research universities. So some people have found those helpful.
That's great. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you for sharing that. And I also put in the chat window about the ASHE. So we are members of ASHE. UTA pays annual membership fee. So if they have a lot of resources that you can subscribe to their newsletter, and you'll get it in your inbox if you do that. But their annual conference happens in October. If you want to attend, there's always a special discount for member institution. It's been a great resource for me, and I'm sure you'll like it too. And there are a couple of other organizations, HESI, which is the Higher Education Sustainability Initiative. They have good webinars and newsletters that come out with a lot of information. And perhaps I can keep sharing with you all, not to spam your inbox, but tell me if I should stop. Yeah, I know we agreed to come up with one resource today for a bibliography. Anyone, any recommendations? Chris had a great suggestion yesterday. I do have a list of good podcasts.
Well, I was hoping that, and maybe we can continue, but if if there's anyone who has a suggestion of something, that you would recommend everyone in the group read or partially read or take a look at, a reading list. But we can, add podcasts, add films, gallery shows, something that speaks to the issue of sustainability that made you think, changed the way you were thinking, perhaps, motivated you, and it might do that for the rest of us as well.
I dropped a few podcasts that I listened to, but I have sort of a file with all of these lists and some good documentaries I can share if anyone is interested.
Yes, please.
I will do that. Thank you. So please do fill out the evaluation form. I put it in the chat window. I sent it in an email yesterday, and I'll include it again in the email, follow-up email that I sent out today. But you have Jeff's email, you have my email. If you have any questions, concerns, something is not clear, please send me an email. We can even set up a meeting, one-on-one meeting to talk about it. But please let me know your plans on if you plan to do implement this workshop in your teaching in the fall 2021. I think it'd be an exciting experience. And you have a bunch of people here who can be guest lecturers for your class. Any last words?
I have a final word, but if there's anybody who wants to share one last thought before I do that, before I sign off, that would be fine. Okay. Well, with that then, I've already shared with you that my background is literature. So I am going to close by sharing with you a poem, if I can figure out how to get it up into, are you seeing this? No.
No, you have to share your screen, Jeff.
Yeah, that's what, oh, here we go.
Okay.
Now.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, slideshow. So this is one of my favorite poems, and I actually chose this poem before the workshop began. It's not just about technology, but this is Jane Hirshfield. More and more, I have come to admire resilience. Not the simple resistance of a pillow whose foam returns over and over to the same shape, but the sinuous tenacity of a tree, finding the light newly blocked on one side, it turns in another. A blind intelligence, true, but out of such persistence arose turtles, rivers, mitochondria, figs, all this resinous, unretractable earth. So once again, thank you, and really appreciate all your work, and wish you the best for the rest of the summer and for the great start to the fall of the next year.
Thank you so much, Jeff. And thank you everyone for your time. I know this was not easy committing 2 days after the semester has ended. So I'm very grateful for it. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.
Thank you, Meghna and Jeff. Great workshop.
Thank you.